Okay, so if like me, you grew up with either an absent father or a father who was emotionally unavailable, my intention is that this video is going to be the most impactful video you'll watch on this topic, and you'll understand how much it's actually affected you. Because a lot like you, I grew up not having a great relationship with my father, and last year he passed away. And since then I've taken a lot of time to do research and understand how his absence in my adolescence has actually affected me, and I want to squeeze in all the knowledge that I've gained into this video to share some wisdom with you. So let's get started. Okay, firstly I want you to understand how much your childhood actually affects you, even as an adult. So if you lacked a father figure while you were growing up, it is going to make you suffer emotionally and psychologically, and most of this will be subconsciously. There's a lot of ease, but you know what I mean. Okay, because you will subconsciously believe that you're not good enough. Because as a child, if you have a father around, or if you don't have a father around, and if I mattered, he would be here. If I mattered that much, he would care about me, he would tell me he loves me, he would do things for me, he'd help me out. But since I don't have that, it must be my fault, it must be because I'm not good enough. And of course this is wrong and it makes no sense, but as a young child, this is what you subconsciously start to believe about yourself. And this will lead you down the road of becoming a people pleaser, someone who wants to make sure that everyone around you loves you. And you'll do this by, kind of putting yourself last and trying to, make sure everyone's happy with you, trying to be the perfect boyfriend, the perfect partner, the perfect friend, the perfect son, the perfect brother, whatever that means. Which is actually just, please people, people pleasing, trying to make sure that you're being who they want you to be. And at the end of the road, this kind of leaves you to not knowing who you are, because you spend so much time trying to be someone else for everyone else. And once you do realize this, you'll be left thinking, okay, then who am I? If you take away, being the perfect friend or brother or partner, who am I? What do I care about? What do I want to be? And because you didn't have this father figure to direct you and showing an example of what confident, well put together man is, you end up kind of just freestyling. You don't really know what you're doing, so you just kind of throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, and whatever does, that's what you kind of commit to, even if it's not in your best interest. And because the main role of a father is to instill confidence in you as a child, when you lack this figure, you grow up to be a quiet, shy, anxious individual, because you never had that person to really, give you that confidence, you can do this, give you that kind of tough love. And if you've been raised by a single mother especially, you grew up probably in a very feminine environment where you've been trying to kind of please your mother. You've been kind of playing the role of husband and son, and this will take a lot of stress and strain onto you as a person. And secondly, the way that you cope with these feelings that I've listed before is you distract yourself with addictions. So a lot of young men that grew up without a father, or grew up with an emotionally unavailable father, they go down the line of addiction, whether it's drugs, video games, porn, sex, whatever it is. They find something to distract them from how they actually feel internally, and they use these distractions to kind of forget about the feelings that they have subconsciously, maybe the kind of hole that they have inside of wanting someone to care for them. They kind of throw that to the side and just delve into these addictions. You also become someone who's afraid of conflict, because you were raised to probably avoid conflict by your mother, or you never had an example of how to have an actual difficult discussion with someone, because again, that's the usual role of the father, who has these kind of uncomfortable conversations with you, kind of tells you about how real life works. And if you don't have these kind of conversations with someone growing up, you end up being afraid to have these kind of conversations, and this can lead to you having these relationships that are awkward, where you don't feel comfortable talking to your partner about certain things because you're scared of how they're going to react, or you end up being that friend who's kind of wishy-washy because you never actually want to say what you want to do, and you just go on with what everyone else wants to do. You also tend to be someone who can't set boundaries in their relationships, again because you never had an example of how to do this. You become quite a typical nice guy, where you're very much yeah, sure, okay, yeah, whatever you say, whatever you want to do. And that makes you look very passive, and this comes across as either isn't very opinionated, someone who's kind of shy and anxious about themselves and what they feel. And this can lead you to going down the line of depending on external validation and attention-seeking behavior. A lot of that's where the term fatherless behavior comes from. It's young men and women that want that attention that they lacked as a child, and they try and get it any way they can. So they'll do the most in public to try and get people to kind of see them, because they feel unseen by their father. Okay, thirdly, you have to realize that your subconscious beliefs about yourself are wrong. So as I said before, these beliefs that you pick up as a child, that you're not lovable, that you're not good enough, etc., these things like that, you have to realize that these are just things that you've been kind of programmed to think because you lacked a certain aspect in your adolescence. which is, the masculine energy of a man. Because you start to believe that you'll only be worthy of being loved when you do X or Y, or when you achieve this thing or that thing. And this can lead you down the line of trying to be a perfectionist, where you want everything to be, a certain way, otherwise you start to feel a bit insecure about yourself. And again, this is because you didn't have that, figure in your life to kind of instill your self-worth and instill your internal value system. And it's because you've internalized that the only route to being loved by someone is being perfect, being without flaws, being, this figure that has no imperfections. And it's just, again, because you weren't able to see how an imperfect person like your father was able to still be loved by your mother, because he wasn't around, or he wasn't emotionally available with you or your mother. And here are some common struggles that you will find in adult life. So you'll struggle to express your wants and needs and your emotions because you don't really understand your emotions. You haven't really taken any time to understand them. You've probably been running away from them for a very long time. You also probably struggle to develop male friendships because you have this sense of inferiority, because you didn't really have that figure in your life to instill confidence in you. And this can lead to you feeling unworthy just in general, and taking on the characteristics and personality of other people that you see are doing well, or people that you think are better than you, and you end up kind of losing yourself. And of course, this lack of having a father figure affects your personal relationships as well, especially your romantic relationships. And if I'm being honest, most of your early romantic relationships will definitely fail, and it's not really your fault, but it's your responsibility to understand why. And the main reason that they will fail is because you didn't have the example of what it looks like to healthily love a woman. You didn't. Whether your father wasn't around or your father was in the house but he wasn't really emotionally there, that's not a good example of how to love a woman. Women need to be tended to emotionally, especially emotionally. Like, it's very important that women's emotions are taken into account in a relationship, and if you had an absent father, it's clear he wasn't ticking that box, and you've kind of therefore understood that you don't really need to be emotionally there with your woman because you didn't see that. So this character trait that you have of being kind of emotionally unavailable, this will most likely lead you to attracting a partner that has a mother wound. So someone who has quite a difficult relationship with her mother is usually attracted to someone who has an absent or a difficult relationship with their father, mainly because what you both seek in each other is there in the short term. So she becomes that person that is able to validate you, is able to kind of give you that feeling of you are seen, you are loved, and you're able to be that kind of steady rock for her, where maybe she was around someone who was very all over the place emotionally, and you're someone who's very stoic, or at least it seems like you're very stoic, and really you're kind of just emotionally malnourished. And these kind of early relationships with someone that has a father wound and someone that has a mother wound, you'll often trigger each other's traumas, and it can be a very chaotic relationship, because you will crave her validation because you were kind of taught to crave female validation by your mother. And again, I can go into more detail on how this affects relationships in a separate video because it's a whole rabbit hole, trust me. Okay, so with all that being said, now that you're more aware of how this has affected you, it's time to look into the actions to take to mitigate these effects. Okay, so now that we've looked into how fatherlessness and having an absent father or emotionally unavailable father can affect you, now let's delve into how you can mitigate these factors and actually start to live a life that you're kind of happy with and kind of heal from this wound that you have. Okay, the first thing you have to do is acknowledge that although not having a father figure of course wasn't your fault, it has affected you. You have to admit that first, that it has affected you. You are affected by it. And of course, even though it's not your fault, since this is your life, it is now your responsibility to fix it, or at least do the best you can to make sure it doesn't destroy your life. Because it's your responsibility to heal from these wounds and avoid falling into these addictions, escapism, just repeating the cycle over and over again. Because the last thing you want is to basically repeat this whole story that your father set for you, for your future kids, or for your brothers and sisters, for the people that you meet in your life. You don't want to continue this pain. You don't want to pass on to someone else. If anything, you want it to end with you. So instead of trying to escape this pain, I want you to go directly at it. For however long it takes you, months, years, weeks, whatever it is, go directly at this pain, because the goal must be to try to reparent yourself. So try and give yourself exactly what you would have needed as that young child, because that inner child is still in there. You are still that 8-year-old boy that was thinking, where's my dad? You are still that 10-year-old that was thinking, okay, I can see all my friends hugging their dad after school, where's my dad? That child is still in you, and you've been neglecting them for a long time. Probably you've tried to bury them deep, but they are still there. And all you can do is try to reparent that child, give them the kind of love, attention and affection that they needed. And the way you do that is by being kind to yourself, being understanding to yourself, but also holding yourself accountable, just like a strong father would do. And the goal is to try and rewire your brain and undo the damage that lacking this father figure has done to your brain, because it has affected your brain. The aim should be to try to become the type of man that you needed when you were a child, instead of just repeating the same cycle over and over again. If you found this valuable, let me know in the comments and I can try and go further into this topic, because it's something that I have quite a bit of knowledge on. And I appreciate if you did like the video to leave me a like and subscribe if you want, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, have a great day. Love.